We got news dropping today, big news in fact for Crest Caps. We're also going to talk a little bit about Heroic World Tier and how Blizzard has changed it, right? They've updated it recently, some big changes coming with that. Also, Blizzard doubling down on eliminating a little cheat that people were using in a dungeon by wiping entire groups. Let's just talk about it here. Let's jump straight in. Oh, watching the news? No, you're watching me talk about something real important here. I'm a man of the people. People know me by that term. How do I hold the energy that I do every day to help the people out? It's G Fuel, guys. Right now, I'm drinking Gohan's Blackberry Tea. Fantastic flavors, good stuff, zero sugar, full of energy, a good way to game and to play at your highest level the way I do every day. You can use code Samiccus at checkout to get your favorite G Fuel up to 30% off. Try it now. We got Dawn Crest, Myth Crest, and any other crests you can think of removed as far as caps go. After this week's reset, that means you can finally just, crest out to your heart's desire. This is great news for people like me. Obviously, I'm maxing out my gear at all times, and, the crest was the one thing holding me back. That's why I'm still sitting at 272 right now. Otherwise, I'd be 300 item level easy, no question. Now, you say, Sam, you can't be 300. Well, I could. All right, you're talking to a legend, so everyone calm the hell down. This is great news, though. It's always a good time to gear out. Right now, with all the Myth Track gear and shit everyone's getting, we got the Void Forge and all that other stuff. A lot of gear coming in quick, and the Crest Cap was kind of holding things back, so this is good to see. Moving on to patch 12.0.7. Yes, guys, we officially have these splash screens, so get to splashing. Everyone's going to be splashing excited for 12.0.7, right? Yeah? Well, we got this little screen here. It brings up three major features. We got the new zones of Val and Nagital. We already know these are coming. These are your open world zones. We're going to talk a little bit more about these because Blizzard has upped the ante with these things a little bit. I think they saw we weren't too excited about them, and they decided to go balls deep into this shit, so we'll talk about it. We also have the Sporefall raid, your first Mythic Flex raid ever in WoW. That means you can bring different amounts of people from 15 to 25, so this will be an interesting one to see when it goes live. And then the Omnium Folio. Yes, of course, it is required. Blizzard needs to bring in a little bit of a power grind for us. Every single 0.7 expansion. It's not a ring this time or a belt. It's actually a little bit better. It's a passive buff, essentially, that'll work on your tune across all the content that they're doing in Midnight. It almost works more like a passive nerf, honestly, on all the Mythic and Raid content. So that's good to see. We'll, do our little power grind. It's time locked and everything. It's just literally the cookie cutter shit that we deal with every single 0.7 patch. So yeah, Omnium Folio, you'll be upgrading yourself a little bit there. Nice looking splash screen. As we move on into what I've been talking about, Heroic World Tier, right? This is the first time we're ever getting a World Tier basically in retail WoW. We saw it recently in Legion Remix with all the stuff that was going on there. It was kind of a test for what we're getting here. But Heroic World Tier kind of hit flat. If you looked at the rewards that were coming out of it, everyone was kind of saying, well, by the time Heroic World Tier comes out, I'm going to be overgeared for this shit and not really need anything from it. So there's not going to be really a reason to do it. Well, Blizzard heard those complaints, and they've increased the World Tier rewards. And we're going to talk about what exactly that means because there's actually a WoW first here. A first time in World of Warcraft history, World Tier gear is going to be pretty damn good. We'll talk about it here in a second. The new raid Sporefall, there'll be testing going on from May 21st here from 1 to 2 p.m. PDT. If you're interested in getting in there and testing that thing out. And then some item changes here. Galactic Void Silver and Galactic Void Matrix items can no longer be acquired. Existing copies will be removed from player inventories. This is probably some old ass fucking currency. I don't even know what this shit is. We're going to talk about currencies a little bit today. Clearly another currency that's been removed from the game. All right, that's great. Okay, World Tier. Let's talk about it. For the first time ever in the history of World of Warcraft, you will be able to get Myth Track gear from open world content. That's right, boys. This is a first, and it's a pretty big first. Myth Track gear coming from world content. I mean, I've been saying how soloable this game is at this point. I mean, Blizzard's just going all in. It's it. WoW's an RPG. That's it. Forget the MMO part of it. You can literally just RPG this shit and get some of the best gear in the game. So what we're going to do here, basically, Decimus is going to give a quest out called Knocking Off the Top. This thing is going to be a time-gated quest, basically, because it's going to require to kill all the world bosses that show up in the two new zones of Val and Nagital, whatever the hell it's called, Nagital. Each world boss only shows up once a week. There's 4 of them, which will mean that you got to take 4 weeks basically to kill all these world bosses. Once you do, you will have the option of selecting between 3 pieces of loot at a myth 1 of 6 track level. We're talking about a cloak, a belt, and bracers. So you'll be able to select between these. As I said before, the first time ever that myth track gear has been made available through open world content. So you'll collect these 4 Void Commander emblems and then choose between any of these 3 items. Again, big items here. Blizzard, I think, heard that people were just not really into doing heroic tier, world tier shit for gear that's completely obsolete to them for the most part. So yeah, putting some myth track gear on it, I think I'll be going for this one for sure. Johnny Cash has returned. That's right. Great name, by the way. If you don't know who this guy is, this guy was basically the guy who made the Ashbringer World Quests. Ashbringer Quests for Legion back when the Legion Legendaries were out. He made the Corrupted Ashbringer questline as well. This guy's done a bunch of stuff when it comes to pet battles. He introduced pet battles to the game, Garrison Outposts, Class Halls, and a bunch of other artifact quest lines. So he's done a bunch of great stuff in the game. He left for 4 years, has now returned as a principal game dev. So good for us, I guess. You know, when these talented people return to the game or return to World of Warcraft, hey, it means maybe we're gonna get some more good shit out of the game. So thought I would just announce this one before we move on to this. Blizzard striking with a vengeance. So turns out Skyreach had a bit of a bug that was recently discovered. And it was posted. This was done during a WoW Twitch stream where essentially during the boss fight, you would be able, in Skyreach, the third boss, you would be able to essentially bypass the ads by standing at the ledge here. So look at this real quick. This will clear up here in a second. Always these Twitch VODs are so blurry to start. But basically you tank the boss at this little ledge here, and as soon as the ad gets summoned, which it will be in a second here, you're gonna see what happens to the ad, and basically it's gonna get face roll deleted. There it goes, down into the valley. So yeah, of course, players finding ways to, you know, trip out the game a little bit. Yeah, it's always fun to fuck around in WoW, and these guys figured out a way to do it. So basically bypassing one of the main mechanics of this fight by just allowing ads to fall into the valley. Of course, putting this out there, Blizzard eventually did see it, and they put in a hotfix, but not like the way you would typically think, where, hey, let's just summon the ad on the edge of the platform. No, Blizzard came back with a vengeance, and now if you try to do this mechanic right here, by holding the tank, or having the tank hold the boss at the edge like this, you're going to see what happens. Basically, the entire group's gonna get one-shotted. Yeah, there it is. So that's their new fix for this. So if you do, in fact, attempt to do this on Skyreach, you will just get blasted the fuck away, deleted from the game. Blizzard's not fucking around with this mechanic. Yeah, just a new fucking boss mechanic that one-shots everybody in the group if the ad is not summoned on the platform. So, yeah, buyers beware. Proceed at your own risk. There's no way to bypass this anymore. If you want to do this fight, make sure the ad gets summoned on the platform or you're all dead. So there you go. That was just a funny one that I saw. I haven't seen Blizzard kind of respond to a little cheat mechanic quite in that way, but yeah, they're not having it. So there you go. Now let's talk about currencies. World of Warcraft and currencies, I mean, they go hand in hand. It's World of Currency Craft at this point. I made a joke not too long ago that the busiest guy at Blizzard headquarters is the guy who draws, the artist who draws the currencies. People found that to be hilarious because we all know it's true. I mean, literally, there should be a job title up there, currency artist. That's what this guy, look at all the shit this guy's had to draw just for this single expansion. At this point, this guy's constantly being, pushed to the limit and asked to draw every single currency available in the game. And then we see currencies on the back end being deleted because there's too many fucking currencies. There's currencies for currencies at this point. Anyways, looking at all these currencies could be a little bit overwhelming. So let's just go through real quick. What are the important currencies in the game right now? Well, for crafters, you have Artisan's Moxie, which is used for recipes or extra reagents, things like that. And then you have the Shard of Dundun. I've never even freaking heard of this shit. What are the Shard of Dundun? Are we serious? Is arguably the most important currency for crafters. Evidently, I don't craft enough. Since they allow unalloyed abundance to be earned and exchanged for fused vitality, which is we got currencies being exchanged for currencies. Used to create high-end profession equipment. So there you go. That's for professions. For collectors, obvious one, Voidlight Marl. That's one where, basically you're collecting it from every single thing you do in the game right now, it almost feels like. Voidlight Marl is easily the biggest, being acquired for practically everything, as I said before. and used across all of them. You buy a bunch of cosmetics and other things with this stuff right now. Field accolades also be giving with a lot of stuff. It serves a dual purpose of catch-up gear or exclusive cosmetic tier sets, which I recently got, so that's good. And then community coupons. This is from your neighborhood shit, right? Doing your neighborhood stuff to buy decor items and things like that. That's what you use this stuff for. There's also obviously Undercoin, which is purely related to delves. Angler Pearls from the Abyssal Angler stuff, which you can use to buy cosmetics and things. And then Illusionary Coins, which are also used to buy decor items. And then for player power, the real important stuff, the big dick stuff, this is what people care about for the most part. Obviously, you have your Dawn Crest system. Every crest that you get right now from Heroic Dawn Crest, Myth Dawn Crest, converting those crests between each other, using them to upgrade your gear. Very important stuff. You get it obviously from content like raids, delves, any kind of competitive content, Mythic Plus. You're going to be getting crests as you do that stuff. Nebulous Void Cores have recently become important. Those are your bonus roll currencies. Though it's kind of hard to not be aware of them since players need to go out of their way to obtain them each week. That's right, to get the bonus rolls and things like that. We also have Restored Coffer Keys, Untainted Mana Crystals. I prefer Mana Crystals in the Taint, if you ask me. And then Field Accolades, as I mentioned again before, can be important for solo gearing alts, and those are still very, core to the process right now of gearing out via those systems. Finally, PvP vendors. We have Honor and Conquest, obviously. For anybody who still PvPs in the game, yeah, you're going to obviously be using Honor and Conquest. No currencies can make up for how bad you are. Doc, unbelievable. Unbelievable, Doc. Just shooting his shot in the fucking chat. Sam, sparkly taint. Yeah, I mean, that's the best kind of taint to have. Why would you want your taint to be sparkly? Moving on to this final little checkpoint here. Double check your raid scaling, guys. You guys know there's a buff out there right now for raiding, right? Essentially, that buff has been 1% every week. It should be up to 6% now. So we got a decent buff right now on healing and damage output in the raids. People need to check to make sure that they have the buff for March on Quel'Danas. Evidently, people didn't know. It's a separate kind of quest. You got to make sure that you at least turn that shit in or get it done. It's at the very beginning of the raid. You got to make sure you get the buff. One way you can check, obviously, is checking when you're in the raid if you in fact have the 6% buff. If you're not sure if you've previously had the buff, you can go check your damage logs to see if you have the Might of the Sunwell Offensive buff. Go to the buffs tracking, and then obviously you'll see that it's a unique page there.
We have a realm to destroy.
KR1, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to our Scourge. Yeah, it's important, guys. I mean, a 6% buff ain't nothing, and it turns out there's a lot of people actually raiding right now in guilds and stuff, realizing that they haven't been using the buff the entire time. So that's a little PSA from the man of the people to the people, telling you guys, make sure you go and check if you got the Might of the Sunwell buff when you're in March on Quel'Danas. And for today, that is all in terms of news.